An dieser Stelle geht mein herzlicher Dank heute an die liebe Gabi. Danke, dass du 1000 First Steps mit deiner Mitgliedschaft in unserer SOULBASE-Community unterstützt. Alle Infos zu unseren monatlichen Live-Meditationen, der SOULBASE Mediathek und weiteren Goodies findest du unter soulbase.jakob-horvath.com.
We as human beings, as spiritual beings, as energy beings that are connected to the infinite whole, naturally we want to feel good because that's who we are.
Herzlich willkommen zu 1000 First Steps, deinem Podcast für das Größte in dir. Mein Name ist Jakob Horvath und heute stelle ich dir zwei ganz wundervolle Menschen vor, die ich im Februar hier auf Bali kennengelernt habe. Xavier de Forceville und Hanna Knight. Xavier kommt ursprünglich aus Frankreich, lebt schon seit vielen Jahren in Bali und Hanna aus den Vereinigten Staaten. Ja, es ist einfach so ein tiefgründiges Gespräch geworden über Sacred Partnership und die Frage, wie wir in bewussten Beziehungen gemeinsam wachsen können, miteinander, zueinander wachsen, aber auch über uns selbst hinaus wachsen, in unser volles Potenzial. Ein Gespräch voller Liebe und voller Wertschätzung und voll mit inspirierenden Antworten auf die Frage, die sich so viele von uns stellen. Ob wir in Beziehungen sind oder ob wir uns unsere Traumbeziehung noch wünschen oder ob wir gerade Single sind oder gerade eine Beziehung beendet haben. Die Frage, die sich so viele von uns stellen: Wie leben wir erfüllte, liebevolle und respektvolle Beziehungen, die uns dabei helfen, als Menschen zu wachsen und uns als spirituelle Wesen zu entfalten? Xavier und Hanna haben sich vor 3,5 Jahren kennengelernt und als sie im Interview davon erzählt haben, wie genau das passiert ist und welche Magie da scheinbar die Fäden gezogen hat, habe ich am ganzen Körper Gänsehaut bekommen. Freu dich auf diese Story, denn ich finde, sie macht sehr viel Mut und sie zeigt auch, wie wichtig die kontinuierliche innere Arbeit ist, um die Beziehung deiner Träume zu führen, während einer Partnerschaft, aber auch und vor allem, wenn du gerade Single bist. Welche Art von innerer Arbeit Xavier und Hanna dorthin gebracht haben, wo sie heute stehen, erzählen sie uns in diesem sehr, sehr offenen und authentischen Gespräch. Wir sprechen auch über maskuline und feminine Dynamiken in uns selbst, aber auch natürlich in Beziehungen. Warum du immer genau den Partner, die Partnerin in dein Leben ziehst, der oder die ein energetisches Match für dich ist. Und wie du die Herausforderungen in Beziehungen nutzt, um gemeinsam alte Wunden zu heilen und immer mehr du selbst zu sein.
It's having the courage to be true to ourselves, to inquire, to listen, to constantly self-improve, to have the discipline to do what is right for what we know is right for us.
Und dann kommt womöglich trotz all der Arbeit, trotz all der Bemühungen, der Moment, wo die Beziehung kurz vor dem Aus steht. Und dann? Xavier und Hanna haben auch das erlebt und erzählen, wie sie gemeinsam durch diese Challenge navigiert haben und noch näher zusammengewachsen sind. Bevor wir gleich den Vorhang aufziehen für dieses großartige Gespräch, hier noch eine Info für alle Monkey Minds und Rastlosen und für diejenigen unter euch, die sich gerne mehr innere Ruhe, Gelassenheit und Achtsamkeit im Alltag wünschen. Und mehr Verbindung mit sich selbst. Mein Meditationskurs Discover Your Peace ist seit kurzem als 30-tägiger Online-Kurs erhältlich. Du kannst den Kurs jederzeit beginnen und in einem ganz eigenen Tempo durchführen. Mit insgesamt 18 verschiedenen Meditationstechniken, von bewegten, aktiven Meditationen, Atemmeditationen bis hin zu Fantasiereisen, Achtsamkeitsmeditationen und vieles mehr, aus denen du dir dann deine eigene Meditationspraxis zusammenstellst, die für dich funktioniert und stimmig ist, sodass du Freude hast, jedes Mal aufs Neue an deinen Meditationsplatz zurückzukehren und eine neue Gewohnheit zu entwickeln, die dich an diesen wunderbaren Ort in dir selbst führt, diesen Ort der Stille, der Harmonie und des Friedens. Dazu gibt's Coaching-Videos mit meiner persönlichen Guidance, vielen Tipps und Tricks, spannenden Hintergründen, inspirierenden Impulsen einer geführten Yoga-Klasse und mehr. Alle Infos zu Discover Your Peace und den Link zur Anmeldung findest du unter jakobhorvath.com/discoveryourpeace. Den Link dazu stelle ich dir in die Shownotes. Und jetzt wünsche ich dir viel Freude mit Hanna und Xavier und Antworten auf die Frage, wie wir in bewussten Beziehungen gemeinsam wachsen und unsere Potenziale entfalten. Schreib mir sehr, sehr gerne auf Instagram @jakob.horvath unter dem Post zur aktuellen Folge, was du dir aus dem Gespräch mitnimmst und welche Erfahrungen du mit dem Thema schon gesammelt hast. Ich freue mich dort von dir zu lesen. Schön, dass du da bist. Hanna and Xavier, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Jacob.
I'm so glad you guys are here. It's so good to see your bright faces, radiating so much energy. That's actually, I would love to share this story in the beginning of the interview because I feel it's kind of relevant because it has to do with, you and me, Xavier. I met you the first time in Yoga Barn a few weeks ago. You didn't meet me, I saw you, and you were this shining expression. I didn't know what it was exactly, but I saw exactly that smile and the long hair, and something was so special about you, I felt. And I felt drawn to, I thought that at some point I'd love to talk to this man. Little did I know that a few weeks later I would be in a whole week container with you in the men's initiation journey and the Tantra men's retreat. So yeah, we've got to know each other a little bit better. I'm so happy about that, brother. So thank you. And Hanna, the two of us first met in the workshop, the Power and Polarity workshop. And that is actually when I also saw the two of you for the first time. And my impression was, wow, there's something really, really special, at least from what I perceived, about the way the two of you interact with each other. And in those practices we did in the workshop, and then last week on the Jaya Festival here in Ubud, you were giving this talk about sacred partnership. And I thought, wait, that's perfect, I can't think of anyone else who could do a talk like this, perhaps better than you could. So I'm really honored to have you on the podcast talking about these topics with you guys. So yeah, welcome again, welcome on my little porch here, my little home here in Ubud.
Thank you so much for inviting us. This is such a special opportunity for us as well. I'm very grateful.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, when I feel into the vibe that's present, I would really just like to start with the two of you, and maybe you can start sharing a little bit about your story, how you've met, where you've met, how did that come along? Was it kind of a love at first sight thing, or what's your story as a couple? Part of it, because you met 3.5 years ago, right? So
yeah.
Obviously, a lot of things happened.
Actually, this is such a good question. I don't really know that we've ever actually sat together, on an interview and actually answered that question together. So I'm actually really interested to hear Xavier's side, because obviously there's two sides of the story. Because before we met, we were both living our own separate lives. So I can't wait to hear what Xavier has to say, but I can go first.
Who wants to go first? Yeah.
Or do you want to go first? Okay. So for me, before I met Xavier 3 years ago, I had already begun a very deep dive into the world of self-development and transformation. I had been a yoga teacher since I was 18 and on the tantric path since then as well. And years after that, I realized that I had a lot to learn when it came to sexuality and relationship. So I decided to start learning. And I also decided around the same time to become a coach, because although I really loved teaching yoga, I knew I wanted to work really more deeply with people.
How long did it go, to give a frame?
So that was all around 2017, 2018 is when I started the coaching work and the sexuality work and the relationship work. So yeah, I started doing my coaching training to become a sex, love, and relationship coach before I met Xavier. And in that journey, as I was getting to know my own sexuality, my own needs, my own inner feminine, my dreams for my life, I knew I wanted to expand, like, big time. So I grew up in Virginia, in a small town called Richmond in the United States. And it was an amazing support to me. I mean, it brought me yoga, it brought me to Tantra, but I was really ready to, like, expand hugely. And so I actually started calling in divine partnership. And that was actually part of the training I was doing, because I was actually studying with a specialty of being a conscious dating coach to actually help others manifest their soulmate. And I really only took that major because I was interested in manifesting it for myself. And it was really curious, like, why my relationships in the past had never really worked, and why was I always attracting kind of the wrong partners. I was really not sure what was going on. So I ended up doing all the deep work in myself and calling in a very specific vision of what I wanted for the next chapter of my life. And yeah, I did so much manifestation work. And one thing led to another. I ended up finding ISTA, and I did my first ISTA training, and it was very powerful for me because it was the first experience meeting people from other places around the world, or even just around the country, who were also interested in, like, the same thing, sexuality, power, embodiment. And then we ended up meeting at one of the tribal gatherings where all of the beings who have ever done those trainings come together.
Just to give our listeners an idea, ISTA, it's an institute for sacred sexuality kind of thing, or how would you describe it?
ISTA stands for the International School of Temple Arts.
Right.
And their level 1 training, which is what I did, is called the Spiritual, Sexual, Shamanic Experience.
Okay, that sounds promising. That's where you met Xavier.
I met him at the tribal gathering, after the training. And we were both participating there. So I like to clarify that I was never his student. He was never my teacher, I was never his student. Although we are both each other's teachers and both each other's students today.
And I'd love to touch base on that a little bit later in the conversation.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you met him, and what was your first impression?
So it was a full body response that was way beyond my mind.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was extremely intense. I remember having to pull myself away from the group countless times during those 4 days and actually, like, center myself, because the energy I felt when I was near Xavier was so strong that it was causing a lot of shaking in me. And I didn't really want to be coming from a place of, I really wanted to be making sure that I was coming from a place of power and, like, centered in myself, and not from a place of projection or lust or, I don't know, some pattern. I just really wanted to be clear that I wasn't taking any action from any unclear place. So I was constantly, like, pulling myself away and, like, re-finding my center. And yeah, it was really, really intense. Eventually, I received guidance from my being, my deep inner being, and it was like, you have to speak to this person. You have to.
So all of that happened before you even spoke to him?
Yeah.
Just being in his field?
Yeah.
Do you have an idea what happened in your body?
In my body?
Or why that happened?
Why that happened? Yeah, I have an idea. And I feel like it's because he was the perfect vibrational match for the reality that I was stepping into.
That you've been manifesting
That I
for
had
quite
been
a long time.
Yes, that I had been manifesting for quite a long time.
Ooh, getting goosebumps. It's amazing.
Yeah, and it was really scary. It was really scary. He was there with like a girlfriend or one of his lovers, someone he had been relating with, and I was still quite new to this whole field of all these people were new to me and everything. So I felt like there were a lot of tests and a lot of obstacles that I had to have the confidence to move through, and had a lot of insecurities coming up also, but I had to listen to that.
Yeah, full body response that means something, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Xavier, that's a strong first impression Hanna had, huh? What was yours?
Same.
Same.
Different, but same, yes.
Same but different.
Yes. I had an immediate recognition of her. It was more like the archetype. When I felt her behind me, and I turned around and I saw her, and instantly my subconscious was like, wow, this is the kind of goddess that I've been seeing and feeling and admiring in many different places, like in sample in many different women or goddesses or statues. I see this statue here. Like the feeling I have looking at this goddess statue is my body is just like opening and relaxing. I had the same feeling when I saw Hanna.
That's the manifestation in human form.
Yes.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Of something that I had been not consciously, because I was like, no, that's impossible. My conscious mind would say, no, we are just here on this planet to have relating with people, and they're just people. But I know that all the beings that I've been relating with had a little piece of the divine archetype that I really appreciate. And I usually would say, focus my mind on like the 5% or 10% of this goddess archetype that I found in one person, and ignore the rest that's not really what I'm looking for. And then when I felt Hanna, it was like, whoa, okay, there's a lot of what I really appreciate. What I'm really looking for and appreciating. But that was my mind, my conscious mind was saying no. And my deep inner being was like, wow, okay, this feels and looks amazing.
Yes.
So
when I understand that correctly, what you were feeling, both of you, was a vibrational match to something that you already knew you wanted.
yes,
And you knew that because you did your work.
yes,
You did your inner work, and that's how you got in touch with that field, let's call it like that.
yes,
You call it an archetype, you know. What is the person that I really want to spend my life with? You already knew that, and once you showed up for each other, there was the match, full body response. It was just clear. You each other's soulmates, kind of. Is that
Yeah.
how it went?
Yeah, and for me, wow, like I'm so impressed by the way you said that it's, what you just said was amazing. For me, it's not only the vibration of the person that I was calling in, it was also the vibration of the whole life expression that I was calling in. So, for example, I really wanted to leave Virginia. I really wanted to go traveling. I really wanted to have an amazing career, purpose, sharing my coaching, sharing my knowledge with a global field. I wanted to be having fun. I wanted to be in nature. And somehow his whole field actually resonated with this whole vision too. I mean, I didn't know, of course, step by step, getting to know each other, I had to continue vetting for that and seeing if there was a match. But I think I could see, I didn't assume he had all of the things and we were a match for all the things, but I think that he was actually really vibrating at the whole, on an even bigger level too, of what I had been calling in.
Yeah.
Wow. And what would you say now, 3.5 years later, fast forward, many ups and downs, I guess. I'd love to speak about that too. what's sacred about your partnership? What comes to mind first? What makes your relationship sacred, divine?
That we were right.
That you were right.
Yeah. The way I understand it is I see the multi-lifetime and the soul journey incarnating in many different life form, planet, many times, and experiencing different experience on this planet with different beings. And because I have this experience of having incarnated in many different situations, I kind of know like, oh, okay, if I decide to spend my life in this situation, I can become a carpenter on a desert island. I will have a certain type of life, which I can make work because everything is divine and I would have a certain type of life. Yeah. And that's a bit how I've been spending my life in this lifetime, conscious of the whole picture, but also conscious like, okay, this is like an 85% match. I can make it work because everything is divine. And also it's only an 85% match. And then I can have another experience with another person or in another situation, another job or another country and have, oh yeah, that would be like a 75% match to my soul, but I can also make it work and be happy anywhere.
Right.
And then when I felt Hanna's energy, it's like, wow, this is close to a 95 to a 99% match, really close to embodying the divine, perfect archetype that I would love to experience. Like this is like the top of everything. And that comes with the work of knowing that we are two very high vibrational beings, having done a lot of previous work, having a lot of qualities that are, and a lot of it is discipline. Discipline to a very high frequency vibration that are pretty complete, including all the chakras, all the different energies consciously. So I saw this, I observed like the type of tattoo that Hanna had on her body. And I saw there is a very high intention and high frequency in the type of signature that she chose to put herself from to remind herself. Like it's a very centered, yogic, tantric philosophy. When I say tantra, I'm talking about something that is not neo-tantra, but more like classical tantra view, which is that everything is here to teach us how to become better beings, that we are the reflection, everything is a reflection of our inner consciousness, everything is here to teach us how to become better beings. And we are not victims of the outer world or circumstance. We are creators of reality. We are the divine, having an experience on this planet. Even though we love having the experience of being humans and having ups and downs. So I could really feel that she had this energy. And that's something that I rarely find in someone that I meet usually. So after several years of living together, it's just being confirmed every day. That we are having human experience with ups and downs, yes, because we have personalities and we have a masculine body, she has a feminine body, and there's moon, and there's cycles, and there's hormones, and there's life situations, and there's survival stress sometime, and there's global drama or whatever it is, but we always come back to our center of being, we are the divine, we are manifesting thing, and we are manifesting life, and ultimately, we are the master of our realities. Even though it's like a bamboo. The storm might bend us, and there might be big storm that bend us, but we always come back to our center with very strong fiber and beautiful, very strong fibers. The bamboo is very noble. It has very beautiful energy. That's why shamans use it as their cleaning tools, because it has a lot of crystals in the leaves, in the fibers that help people see more clearly things. So the tools of the shaman are bamboo leaves. Yeah. So yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing this. Do you want to add something to this, Hanna, before I kind of reflect upon what Xavier said?
No.
Because I feel like this is an important point you just made. And I try to get it right in my understanding and maybe give listeners also a different perspective on it. But what I heard, what I understood was, you can make any life experience work. You know, and that's part of your journey on this planet, kind of, you know, whatever experience, and that's also my own belief and conviction and life experience, whatever experience you make is here to teach you something. So if you're a carpenter on that island, or if you live your sacred partnership with your absolute soulmate partner, both will kind of, you know, lead to more wisdom and life experience in your life. But there is a potential. And you said 75%, that would probably be the lonesome carpenter on the island, and then close to 100%, that would be the life that you live now. And I feel like this is an inner striving that we all carry within us as human beings, right? To get closer to those 100%, unfolding our true potential. But that requires that inner work that you talked about. That requires to know where the center is, where you can return to as a couple in your relationships when the storm is bending the bamboo. It requires that inner work, and I feel like this is a key point, because so often, and I've been there too, we look in our partners, in other human beings to fulfill us, to bring us closer to that potential, to bring us closer to our purpose and our happiness and all of it. And that's kind of doomed to fail, I feel like, because it's never going to work.
Yeah.
Right? So you always have to put in your work first, work on yourself, and then raise your own vibrational frequency, and then attract on that match, ideally, the right partner. But if you're here, you can't attract someone who's there. And vice versa, right? You will always attract that same vibrational frequency into your life, which is why probably many people are wondering, why am I always attracting the same kind of people? And you were there too, right? You said it before. You said something that brought you to this path of self-discovery and sacred sexuality and the coaching work you've done was because you wanted to find out, why did you always attract the same kind of people into your life? And I feel like many people ask themselves that question, and they would love to attract a soulmate partner and live a partnership that's really matching what they want from life. Not with their minds, but with their hearts, with their souls, what their souls are called on this earth upon to do. So I feel this could be of value. So I'd love for you to reflect, or to just share a little bit of what has helped you to move out of that, you know, always attracting the same kind of partners that were not on that frequency match. Yeah. And then actually, you know, attract Xavier into your life.
So I think that most people today, like many people are living on a particular level of being that is quite disconnected. We're quite disconnected from our bodies, our hearts, and our souls. And we're very much so on a mental level, often on a survival level, living in scarcity, living in fear, not allowing ourselves to actually open up our consciousness to the possibility of creating a different experience, of creating something that hasn't been experienced before. So for example, I have beautiful, beautiful parents, and I'm so honored and humbled and grateful to have been born into their embrace. And it's been perfect, you know, because they're the perfect parents for my soul journey. And what some of the things that I saw, and as I was doing some reflection, was are they, now I'm not speaking on the soul level because I can't say what's right for them on the soul level, but when I really looked at it, are they living their truth? Are they doing the things that bring them the most joy? Are they genuinely aligned with their purpose? Are they in touch with their body? Are they fully activated and fully alive? Or are they maybe living in fear? And I discovered that I grew up in a home and in a society that said there are only certain ways you can live, and only some special people maybe get to have nice experiences, and you're basically a victim to reality. Now, as I meditated and start to do more spiritual work like meditation and yoga, my mind started to relax and started to open. The samskaras, the neuronal pathways, the patterns of my mind started to dissolve. So my identity started to change, and I started to realize there are other possibilities. And not only are there other possibilities, but there are certain things that want to be birthed through me that aren't coming from my mind. They're coming from something that is greater than me. They're coming through me, and I'm a vessel of this life force energy. I am a participant in something that is birthing in the world, in the universe. And I can either shut that off and like pretend it's not there and hide from it and reject it, deny it, which would feel not so great, or I can do the work to release my fear, release these egoic perceptions of the mind that limit me, and I can actually start to open up to something new. But I think that...
It's kind of the prerequisite, right? To manifest something like this. Really go inwards and see where are you limiting yourself from all these beautiful possibilities in life. And I loved what you shared, and maybe you too want to touch base on that, because I feel like this is something that really deeply connects the two of you, and it's also the first impression one gets when getting in touch with you. Your smile, your joy, your presence, your gratitude for life. It's just something that vibrates. And I mean, I'm having goosebumps now for the 6th time in this interview. So this means something, And I feel like we need to, and that's what you just said, right? We need to open ourselves to that reality that's actually there all the time for us.
Yeah.
Once we can break through the limitations of the mind and just really see, whoa, life is really meant to be lived fully and joyfully. Is that something you'd say that is kind of like one of the foundations of your partnership as well?
Yes. I feel that there is, to be where we are is the result of having done a lot of work. Now, it's not work like the normal use of the word work.
It's not a 9-to-5 job.
It's not a 9-to-5 job. It's having the courage to be true to ourselves, to inquire, to listen, to constantly self-improve, to have the discipline to do what is right for what we know is right for us. And this is not something we've only done in this lifetime. For me, the way I understand that our souls live, Hanna chose those parents. Her soul picked those parents because she knew there would be a favorable environment for her to be protected so that she can develop these very delicate, sensitive, beautiful energies that would be protected by her parents. Compared to someone else who would just either not choose and then incarnate randomly into a situation where there will be violence, something like that. Because when there are difficult outside circumstances like war or violence, the nervous system goes into survival, and that really contracts and blocks a lot of subtle energies. So it's a different type of incarnation. So for me, understanding to be able to be that happy, joyful, the nervous system needs to be relaxed. And this is a choice that the soul has made to embody this relaxation. So I see this actually in you as well. I really recognize that. You also have this very joyful, positive attitude. And for me, this is a result of multi-lifetime of having already experienced what it is to be embodying into a difficult, violent, primal, reptilian, survival, animal, jungle, predator type, and say, okay, we've done that, enough now. I can be the strongest and I can survive in that. Now I don't need to prove it anymore. I can go to a level where I can embody a more easy, more subtle vibration, a more subtle life, because I've already passed those exams or those tests. And this is something that's very important because I see that in this lifetime, I have also had a very easy childhood compared to other people. But it's not that I didn't feel anything, because I feel a lot. So I feel a lot of ups and downs as well. But really, I didn't have major dramas in my life. But I still feel as if it was very deep inside me. So I have constantly, I always say that in my charts, I make a lot of mistakes, but these mistakes are not real mistakes that are here to hurt me. They are just opportunities for me to grow and evolve, learn some lesson, gain strength, but they are not big problems that would traumatize me. They are just like I play with the emotion of like, I really feel this sadness. I really feel this scary thing. I really feel these emotions, but I'm not going to get traumatized because I'm here to feel those and then be able to get over it, stand up again, and then help others who might need some help for that. So this is what our daily practices are. We do a lot of daily practice of meditation, breathing, stretching, health, food, nutrition, like we're really careful with the way we use our bodies, the way we take care of our bodies, because we know that if we don't take care of our body the proper way, as the same as a vehicle, body being the vehicle for the soul, the same as if we don't take care of our car and don't service it or take it into a damaged road and we damage the vehicle, then we're not going to be able to drive very far or keep the car for very long. So it takes discipline, and this discipline takes maturity because there's a lot of temptations in this life.
So many.
Yes. And this is one of the things that we are very in tune with, is we both know that even though there is temptation, the discipline to do the right thing is stronger than the temptation to do the wrong thing.
And maybe that's a good point to jump in. How do you nurture that discipline? Because I feel like we all know what's the right thing to do oftentimes, but we don't do it.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like it's if I may answer that question, it's a learning lesson. And what I learned before I met Xavier was all about the law of attraction and the spiritual laws of well-being, that actually who we really are is inherently connected to infinite source of well-being. So actually, when we feel emotions that are painful, that are heavier, that are anger, sadness, fear, greed, jealousy, these things that don't feel good, we are actually becoming, let's say, more disconnected, farther away from our connection to the source, which is who we really are. So that means that we as human beings, as spiritual beings, as energy beings that are connected to the infinite whole, naturally we want to feel good because that's who we are. So when we have challenging experiences, when we're not aligned with that frequency, we feel it. And even if we haven't learned yet that that's the case, I think that there's a natural impulse. It's part of everyone's soul journey. You said this earlier. It's our natural humanness to actually want to strive towards something, to reach that high vibration, to connect with who we really are. That's inherent in all of us. So a teacher of mine, Matt Kahn, I don't know if you know Matt Kahn.
I love him. He's great.
Yeah, he's amazing. Yeah.
We'll put his stuff in the show notes because I feel like people should check it out on YouTube.
Yeah, people should really definitely. Yeah, he really helped me a lot. And he says something that's kind of, I would say it's controversial. He says, don't worry about it because it's already written. Like your fate, if you will, is like already written. And all you have to do is just be present because it's going to happen it's going to happen or it's going to not happen the way it's supposed to happen. So, so as long as you just practice presence, right? Coming back to that center again, then your path is going to unfold effortlessly.
And it will unfold the way it's supposed to unfold according to your soul's journey. Because of course we do have free will and we can just act out of the ego all the time and make different choices, but then it will guide us into a direction that doesn't feel good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's when we can become aware and think, hey, it doesn't feel good. I might have taken the wrong direction. Wrong.
Yeah.
Let's assume there is no right or wrong. It just takes you still in the right direction because now you realize, hey, maybe time to move to a different direction now. Maybe come back to what really feels good.
Yeah.
Maybe eat something more healthy.
Yeah. And Abraham Hicks, the way that they describe it is that there's a natural flow. There's a natural current of energy, like which our souls are moving. There's a natural path. And she calls it, I forget what she calls it, like the river. Like imagine a river. The river is always flowing in one direction. It's just going down that way. When we're in our ego, what's happening is we're trying to go upstream. And that doesn't feel good, and it's really challenging, it's really uncomfortable, and it doesn't get us anywhere. We might think it's getting us somewhere, but basically it's not, and eventually we're going to get tired, and the river is just continually flowing in this direction. So if we could just turn around and they're like, just let go. And so it's funny because Xavier is very, I think, because you're more in a masculine embodiment, you're always often talking about discipline. And for me, the more feminine is just surrender. And I have surrender written across my chest. And this is a symbol of the swan as well. She flows down the rivers of life. And the more feminine is just surrender. Like just let go. If we just let go, which means letting go of our fear and letting go of control, then the path will be shown for us. And of course, that takes discipline.
And that's a good gateway into energy dynamics, maybe to talk a little bit about that, how that unfolds in your relationship. You are very much in your masculinity oftentimes, and I could feel that from the very first time I saw you. And then you are in your family, but then oftentimes we know that there is an inner woman inside of you, Xavier, and there is an inner man inside of you. How is that playing out in your relationship? How is that dynamic coming along for you guys? Are you well aware and dancing with this, or is it oftentimes also really challenging?
Both. I think we are really clear that we are equal and that we all have energies that are maybe one day a little bit more masculine, one day a little bit more feminine. And the work we have to do is just harmonizing. I have also a lot of feminine, and she has very healthy masculine. And for me, what's really important in this lifetime, I have to do the work to discipline myself, to have clarity, to know what I need to do. Otherwise, I make a mistake that I regret, it hurts me, and then I do the right thing. So my work in this lifetime is to do what I need to do, to have the clarity to do the right thing. So it's to develop this feminine intuition without having to go through a problem to then feel, I should have done this and next time I will do that because it hurts not to do it. So how can I develop that feminine energy? Because my feminine energy, which is very present inside me, which I love, can be a little wild and immature and do a lot of mistakes. Very often, I have to discipline myself to listen to her masculine guidance or to her feminine guidance, because I recognize as often it's like in this area she has done more work than me and she can see the path more easily than me. Well, I would take a few more mistakes to reach where she is already.
Which comes quite naturally, I guess. Being in a male body, it's quite natural that your masculine energy is more evolved than your feminine side, right? And then you have to put more work into that. Would you see it that way as well?
I think that men I think it's true that being in a male body or being in, like, identifying as a male, like Xavier identifies as a male, he's quite tapped into his feminine compared to most people. He's done a lot of work, but I think also naturally you're quite feminine, because if you look at his astrology, you can actually see there are a lot of feminine aspects. But I just wanted to say that, like, also I believe for women, the masculine is actually typically stronger than the feminine in our present day and age, because, like, at least in my generation and my mother's generation, you know, women have reclaimed their power, and so we've been in, we live in a patriarchal world, so we are actually, a lot of us are more comfortable with, even though the natural feminine essence is actually more present, our conditioning is actually to let the masculine rule the feminine. And it's a journey for both of us, of can we have a harmonious relationship inside, a conscious relationship inside, where the feminine is constantly communicating her needs and she's honored, and the masculine is the part of us that's listening and that's supporting that. And so I feel like our dance is, even though we do play with, like, our polarity, the most important thing is actually just being connected to that union inside. And when I am connected to that union inside of me, my natural feminine essence comes out. And when he's taking care of his inner feminine, and when they are having conscious discussions regularly, his natural essence, whatever is the most healthy, whatever is the most true, whether that's masculine or feminine, usually masculine, is going to come out, and then we're going to dance really well together.
Wow, so that means your natural essence, your natural state of being, the Satchitananda, that what we truly are, comes forth, can be expressed and unfolded once there is harmony between the inner feminine and the inner masculine. Inner union, when that is nurtured and present, that is when that dance becomes magical.
Yeah, and it's really important that our dance is our inner dance first, independent inner dance.
Yeah.
Like the bamboo is such a good image, because the bamboo is connected to a strong root, connected to the earth, and goes to the sky, connected to the sky as well, but they are both independent. They are often parallel bamboos. They are not intertwined and mixed together, and no, they are two parallel sovereign beings going to the same way, having the same root, connection to the same earth, connected, getting their energy from the same sun, constellations, planets, sky, and they are parallel. So that's what's important. So when we notice that when we do our inner work in parallel, which might look different because she has the body of a woman, so she might do a little more self-care, or a little bit more meditation, and I might do a little bit more yoga or stretching or moving energy or swimming or whatever it is, or riding a bike. Like, I love riding a bike in the mountains of Bali. When I am fully aligned with who I am and at peace with who I am, and she is, then naturally our fluidity of being more in my masculine or more my feminine and fluid and flowing with each other becomes very easy and natural.
Okay, so maybe we can give, like, some practical advice here, because I feel like this is so important.
Yeah.
Because we often hear about this, be in your center, do your inner work, and we all have heard that, but what it actually could look like, I think this could be a really good example. So I understood you do, like, yoga, energy movement, swimming, like activities that actually move your energy, so the feminine comes alive. Yes. And maybe you can share a little bit what has helped you on your journey to have your inner masculine maturing more and nurture this inner union for you as a woman.
Sure. Well, foundational practice is just always, for me, been meditation, because actually when you were talking about the Satchitananda and this natural harmony that happens, the masculine, feminine, the classical approach is Shiva Shakti. Shiva is consciousness itself, it's presence itself, and Shakti is the energy that's constantly moving through us and birthing through us. So meditation is key, because if I haven't cultivated an ability to be present with sensations, then I don't even know what's going on. And that makes it really hard to do any kind of practices. I can't do, for example, I want to talk about inner masculine and feminine alchemy practice, but I couldn't do that practice if I wasn't present, first of all, with my body. So body awareness is a huge element of this. And I've been cultivating this for many, many years. I think this is like basically the ultimate tantric practice, is just like becoming more aware of the felt sense experiences. So actually experiencing the energy in your body and around your body. So that's really key. And then the next thing is I had to actually rewire my understanding of the masculine. So I had a very, let's say, unhealthy masculine understanding, or I had a very not so helpful masculine understanding. So I saw the masculine unconsciously and subconsciously as, controlling, impatient, aggressive, taking, hyper dominant. And so,
which is what we are presented with a lot of times.
Yeah. Yeah, with the media, with religion, and all kinds of things, war and all of that. And so I had to get really clear about what was going on inside, like what I was holding the masculine in me as, and clear that out and reprogram, create a new masculine archetype. So I had to think of channel what kind of masculine is actually healthy, like what is a healthy masculine, and what kind of father would I have wanted, what kind of male partner would I desire, if there were a masculine to my feminine, how would I want him to show up. Part of that was also getting to know what is my feminine, what actually is that, who is that, what does she want, what does she like, what does she need, and renegotiating that whole relationship inside. And so I was like, I want my masculine to be present, calm, a good listener, patient, holding space, gentle, and also having healthy sense of direction, and really showing up for my feminine so that she can feel like her needs are valued, her desires are okay, her body and her emotions are sacred. And that was all just happening inside of me. So I had to learn how to cultivate that inside of myself. So when I was having emotions, instead of unconsciously the masculine coming in and being like, why are you having these emotions? Like, you should just, just suppress it, and this isn't okay. I actually had to actively practice speaking as the masculine, like, your emotions are beautiful. I'm here for you, no matter how long this takes. We can sit with this. I want to know everything you feel. So practicing that day after day after day.
And this is when I feel like this is exactly the best example you could give for when we talk about the law of attraction. What you cultivate inside of you, you will recognize and attract in your outside world. So without you becoming clear on what your inner masculine should look like, without doing this kind of work, you wouldn't recognize Xavier as someone you would actually like to have in your life. He would show up, but you wouldn't probably not be attracted even, because you wouldn't know that this is actually the mirror of that inner masculine that you have already cultivated. And that goes both ways, of course. If you have an unhealthy relationship with your inner masculine, and it's always kind of judging yourself for having crazy emotions, then you'll attract that kind of man in your life. Naturally, right? And also in the relationship, let's say, because it's a constant journey as well. It's not like we were both perfect embodiments of divine masculine and feminine when we met each other. We're also still learning, and we're also, we are flawed, and sometimes we lose presence. So let's say he spoke to me in a way that wasn't so great. If I didn't have the awareness of what my feminine really needs and what a healthy masculine looks like, I wouldn't be able to say,
hey, you've crossed my boundary, or hey, you know, I would really love it if you could speak to me this way, or I would really love it if you could touch me this way. And that's a big part of our relationship, is if I don't know how to communicate to him what I need or what I like, what I don't like, he wouldn't know what to do, and we'd both just be getting really frustrated, and we'd eventually go separate ways because we'd be feeling unfulfilled.
Yeah.
So it's really important inside the relationship too. I think people think, I don't know if people think this, but I maybe used to think that you meet the right person and then you're in the relationship and everything is perfect and you don't really have to practice the skills over the years. But actually, every day is a constant test of, are you actually aware of yourself, and are you actually speaking up for your needs and communicating? Yeah, it's also that too.
And I'd love for you to speak about that in a moment. The challenges, how you navigate that, how you talk to each other, what kind of communication you've cultivated. But maybe now that was like a really, I felt like hands-on, practical way of explaining what kind of work women can do to get more in tune with a healthy masculine inside of them. And for the man out there, Xavier, what's the kind of work that we men need to do? And I feel it's a need to do that kind of work in order to show up for the women in our life in a more healthy, loving, caring way.
Thank you for asking. I feel
You're welcome.
That's such a good question.
I feel very lucky because I love learning something that is good for me, and that it feels good in my body when I learn something that is going to improve my life. And thanks to that thing that I'm learning, I'm going to avoid mistakes that I've done in the past that have made me suffer. It feels really good. It's like, wow, thanks to this new thing that I'm learning, I could have avoided a lot of suffering before. And from now on, I'm not going to make those mistakes anymore.
Yes.
So I feel for me, this is the base of who I am and why I'm having such a good life, is because I love learning new things that will make my life better and that will make our life better. Because there are laws of nature that I didn't know before. And as I'm learning them, it feels really good. So for me, it's very important to doing a lot of inner work, a lot of education. Because without this education and without this inner work, it's like walking in the dark and hurting myself on all the things that I'm banging into because I don't see because it's dark. But as soon as I learn something or I educate myself on some different aspects, it feels really good because suddenly there's a little light and I see, oh, there's some obstacle here. I can just go around it. And then instead of falling in the water in the dark, I'm going to be able to, I can just drink the water and quench my thirst. So for me, it's really important that men, knowing that naturally the man in the masculine male body has more ability to channel the Shiva energy, which is the protector, the holding space, creating a space, working hard physically to build a house, protect from the tigers, protect from the predators. It's very important for the men to learn how to develop this ability to constantly evolve, to hold space for the opposite of this protective, the container. The man naturally will want to build a house, but the house needs to be filled with love, because if there's nothing in the house, it's boring. What's the point? So for the man to be able to build a house, and then the Shakti, the feminine energy, will fill the house with beauty, with love, with children, with life, with laughter. And then when the house is full, what happens? If we don't evolve, it gets boring because it's always the same. So the man always have to, for me as a man, I always want my capacity to increase the size of the house, of the protection, so that the life inside can keep growing and I never get bored. So for me, the more I educate myself, I learn something else where I can create more safety, more protection, more Shiva energy, then the Shakti can grow even bigger. And it's a constant evolution of growing together. Because I create the safe space, then in the safe space, beauty can arise and feel safe and develop.
And what was the most important thing you've learned in your life about that, you would say?
One of my first Tantra teacher told me, if you want to be with a woman, it's going to be the most magnificent journey of your life. You need to learn patience. And you need to do your work, do your inner work, do your spiritual work, and always be in advance. You can never stop growing and doing your spiritual work. And often it's a work that's done between men, with other men, or by myself, so that I can create the space where the feminine can feel safe and be awake in her beauty, her sensitivity, everything. If I stop doing my work, she will get bored and angry. Because she knows she wants to be everything. And if the space that she has is too small for her and she can't be everything, she will be frustrated, bored, frustrated, and get angry. So the man always have to do his own work, his spiritual work.
So what is the single most important thing you would suggest to men out there, in a partnership or single, what they could work on in order to make that a reality, what you just described?
Have the humility to realize that there's always more to learn. It feels amazing to learn it. And I have in my life made several times the choice of putting my finance and my money instead of buying what society was telling me to buy, which could be like a nice car or a house or a nice house or whatever, into educating myself so that my inner education castle knowledge ability to hold is bigger than the material, three-dimensional, temporary things I can buy with the money. So practically, instead of buying a house, I educated myself. I trained myself, spent time off work, learning, apprenticing with many teachers, and not just one, many different ones.
And how did you get in touch with your inner queen, your inner woman?
How do I get?
And how important was that for your relationship, to be able to hold your own emotions and not being dependent on your partner to hold you in your energy, in your female energy?
So I had a lot of resistance and fear about that, because growing up in an environment where it was not welcome as a child. Concretely, as a little child at school, I would be teased if I was too feminine or playing with girls. Boys were not allowed to cry, to play with girls, or they would be teased and insulted and rejected by other boys. So I had a lot of fear and resistance about coming in touch with my inner feminine. But because I was educating myself with men that were wise and that had done the work, and several of them gave me the same reflection, telling me, looking at me in the eyes and say, Xavier, you need to develop your inner feminine, your own inner feminine, because she's inside you, but she needs to be coming out and be met, because at the moment, because I was sourcing my feminine from the outside, because I was afraid of being in touch my feminine because of my childhood wound of being rejected, I would deny her. And my need for the feminine was met on the outside by having dependence on women on the outside, or food, or distraction, or entertainment, which is the same thing. When I receive entertainment and I go watch too much television, I'm in my feminine. I receive the penetration of the movies, the food, the entertainment. I'm in my feminine receiving. This is technically, but it's unhealthy because it's in the shadow. It's not healthy. It's not controlled. It's kind of, I need this to compensate the lack of my own inner feminine. So having several strong, mature men looking at me in the eyes and telling me, hey, I'm going to help you with that, but this is an investment. It's going to cost me time. This is what I've done in my life. So you need to be committed to that. I said, okay, I'm showing up. I'm going to be committed to that. And I did the work. And in that environment, I met my inner feminine, and I faced the fear of being rejected, of being...
I feel like that's what's so important for men in this time and space, you know, to connect with other brothers in men's circles, in men's groups, you know, do the man's work actually amongst other brothers, and where they actually can be in a safe container to express their emotions freely, and then develop that relationship to their inner feminine, and then showing up in a completely different way for their female partner or other women in their lives.
Yeah. So it's very important, exactly what you said. In my experience, I've done a lot of men's work, men's group, men's training, men's group, meeting once a week for 2 hours or 3 hours. It's like a taster. It's like, it's not enough. Because having a group of 10, 15, 20 men meeting for 2 hours, we don't have enough personal time to do the work safely. Really so that gave me the understanding and the safety that, it's okay to do men's work, but then really what made it for me was to do deep immersion of training of at least a week where my nervous system can relax. And even faster than that was to have one-on-one coaching and one-on-one training and mentoring with a brother that would take the role of the big brother, of the uncle, of the grandfather, of the archetype of the father, and really hold this space for me so that my young, immature inner feminine would be safe to come out in the archetype of the father and the daughter, or the archetype where my little immature inner feminine could be safely coming out and become strong. So I would say I'm so happy that I spent so much of my resources doing some one-on-one training with strong, mature, healthy brothers that were taking this role to taking me where I was and allow me to grow into what I wanted to be.
Amazing. Yeah, that's my experience too. Exactly what you said. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and today I see...
I was just going to say, like, I love it too, because when big energies and big emotions are moving through me, which, like he said, like, the goddess, like, wants to go to those heights. Like, she wants to go super wild. And when he can just, because he's gone through it himself, because he's gone through death initiations and he's faced his dark shit and he's felt difficult things, he feels, like, strong and he feels safe. And I can be like, I can just, like, fully bring it. I can fully just be like, blah, 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 like, I'm a mess, I'm crazy. And he's just like, boom, like, he's there. And I think as a feminine, I like that, because I'm just like, I can just surrender. I can just soften into this sturdy space. And I know that he's not going to run away because I'm scaring him.
Yeah. And you'll feel safe, which is what every woman ultimately wants, right? From her man.
Yeah, safe. And at the same time, he doesn't coddle me. Now, if I'm going all over the place and I'm like, he's like, also has very firm boundaries, and he's just like, almost his masculine is teaching my masculine how to also provide for myself. So
and your feminine is teaching his feminine, probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
In your relationship, and maybe we can now talk a little bit more about challenges, and because you shared one of those in your talk the other day, last week, and I felt that was so beautiful to listen to that. When was a time in your relationship when you felt like, I'm not sure if this is gonna work out, and what did you do? Maybe you can share the story again.
So I'm growing, she's growing. If she grows faster than me, her energy is stronger than mine, a part of me might get scared because her energy is bigger than me and her energy can be stronger than mine. So when her energy is stronger than mine, my nervous system can go into survival. If I go into survival, it's basically my life is in danger. I need to hide, run, protect myself, or I'm going to die. There's no point in being in a relationship if we are dead. So it's an unconscious switch that happens. And sometimes, like I shared the other day, she feels that the work that I was doing was not in alignment with our long-term, magnificent vision of two amazing beings walking the road of the sacred masculine, sacred feminine, the king and queen together. My work was not 100% in alignment with that. And my survival got triggered. I'm like, if I don't do this work, I won't have enough money to provide for us. We're talking about
external work now.
External work. External work. Professional. Bringing financial safety, comfort, providing for the family.
How did you perceive that, Hanna? What was the work like, and how did it feel for you?
Well, I know myself pretty well because I've done all that work. So like I knew, I have a very clear sense of where I'm going, pretty much almost all the time, like the bigger vision. And so I was just starting to see that the work he was doing wasn't matching the life that I saw for myself.
What was the work?
I was traveling too much and being away from our family.
And he was also, the work you were doing, there are a few different things. I don't know that we go into all the details.
Yeah, it wasn't
just an overall
part.
overview of what
For example, one aspect was that he was teaching
foundations. It's like when you build a house, you need foundations. You need strong foundations. So I spent a lot of work working on the foundation of how to build a house. And she comes in, great, you have great foundations, but now we need to build a house. I can't keep being a master of foundation if I don't know how to build the rest of the house.
So he was traveling a lot,
like for example,
teaching other people to build foundations.
Yes. And she's like, okay, we got good foundations now, let's build a house.
Yeah, I wanted to go to the next level.
Yeah.
So I was creating something together, and if he had continued this work, we wouldn't have been able to create something together because he was on his own trajectory.
Yeah.
So you presented him with an ultimatum?
It wasn't an ultimatum. He felt like it was an ultimatum. His ego felt like it was an ultimatum, but ultimately I was just speaking my truth, and I was just saying non-violently, compassionately, this is what I want, this is what I need, these are my boundaries, these are my desires. Are you a match for that? And so I just presented him with a question, are you a match for that? And he got to choose yes or no. And I didn't know what would come out of his mouth. I just thought, okay, I can only honor my truth and he can only honor his truth. And if our truths happen to match each other, great.
And it was about, I was doing very well teaching and sharing work that was not beginners, but groundwork. And after a while, groundwork is not enough. So I was sharing very basic people who've never done any inner work, who haven't done any work on their sexuality, on their emotional health, on their energetical awareness, like teaching about the basic of energy. Some people have a lot of energy, they're not aware of it. They will lash out anger and emotions without being aware of it. So this groundwork, I was very good at it, getting well paid for it, was very comfortable, but after a while, we needed to do some more refined work, something more. It's like the two bamboos were growing, and my bamboo was like, okay, I'm going to help other bamboo to grow more horizontally instead of shooting to the sky.
So what was your response then?
Yeah.
When Hanna presented you with this choice?
Well, first, my safety survival got triggered, like, how am I going to do this? I don't know how to do what you want me to do yet. I would love to do it, but a part of me was in fear that, if I stop doing what I'm doing, I'm not going to be able to, there was a piece of me that was scared. So I got to really choose, okay, what do I really want? And to play with simulating inside me the two scenarios. Okay, what am I going to do? I can stay where I am. How does it feel? How does it feel to keep being where I am? And I watch Hanna keep growing and growing and growing, and my bamboo is still at this level, helping other bamboos horizontally while she's growing there. I'm like, that doesn't feel good. And I could see, okay, how would it feel if I keep growing, doing my work and shooting there and not having the safety of this as much horizontal feedback? And it's actually exciting. It was actually exciting, unknown, a little bit challenging, needing to grow and needing to change things. So change is scary, but change can also feel good. When I know where I'm going, I'm like, it's only a temporary challenge, but then I can see that it's possible. It's like, okay.
And you know who you're going with.
I know where I'm going. I know also who I'm going with. So it's kind of, it's a challenge, but it's a healthy challenge.
Right, and you knew you would create something even better together.
Yeah. So really, she didn't as you said, she didn't give me an ultimatum. She said, okay, this is where I'm going, because she's clear, because her masculine is clear. Because that's why I'm saying she's an old soul doing multi-lifetime work, because she knows where she's going.
Yeah.
And I know where I'm going to, but sometimes I'm a little bit confused. I make mistakes. So am I going to make another mistake and regret, or am I going to see clearly where do I want to go and then do the work before I make a mistake and regret and then come back?
So that's, maybe we can, I could keep going like this for hours with you guys, but to kind of wrap the conversation up, come back to what you just shared, communication, being able to express in a healthy way your desires and your boundaries. How do you do that in a compassionate, loving way without pushing the buttons of the other person all the time? What's your experience? What's the secret to a loving, healthy communication in a relationship?
I love this question. And I say
Who wants to go first? I would love to have both of you answering it. Yeah.
If it's done in a healthy way, it's inspiring and I want to do it. If it's done in a way that triggers me, I don't want to do it. And I know that you can do both. And when you are in your relaxed, centered state, there's not even a question. I'm like, yeah, fuck yes, it's so beautiful. And when it's in a patriarchal patronizing way, the old ways, giving orders, threatening, ultimatum, like my whole being is like, fuck no. So for me, it's really about being in the center, in the vulnerable state, naturally saying in a very relaxed way, hey, this is where we are going, this is where I am going. And that just naturally it opens my heart, and my heart is open, and I see the beauty. And this is the biggest piece, is that I do the work inside myself to relax so that I can see the beauty, and I can see the beauty of the intention, and it's exciting for me to do what needs to be done. And I know What's
your take on conscious communication in the relationship?
It's really important to learn this, and I think the rookie mistake, which both of us still make all the time, is speaking out of reactivity, speaking out of reaction. And so ultimately, why are we doing that? It's because it's a survival mechanism of, I need to say this now, or else if I don't, everything's gonna fall apart, or I'm gonna lose out, or it's a fear response. So it's really noticing, okay, is this coming from like a really triggered place, a charged place, a fear-based place? Am I like reactive in this moment? Like, am I like angry? Am I freaking out? Am I afraid? I'm trying to fix my energy by controlling this person or controlling the situation and saying things that are, trying to get something. Or am I relaxed? And I'm connected to my truth. I'm connected to the divine, and I'm just sharing something that is important. Now, things need to be shared sometimes. There are things that need to be shared. And, it's also about having patience, because sometimes, once in a while, I'll have something that really needs to be shared. And it's like, I'm actually quite calm, and I'm actually quite centered. And I'm like, hey, like, I would love to share this thing with you. I'd love to make this request, or I'd love to share with you my feelings. And I'm totally centered. And there are some times where what I say, even though I'm totally clear, it triggers the shit out of him. And it's the ego thing in me wants to be like, I'm totally clear. Why does he respond this way? Why can't he just respond with the equal amount of clarity and peacefulness? And I have to have patience, and I have to be like, oh my gosh, okay, this is hard for him. I can be understanding about that. And when he's asking me for space and he's saying, I can't deal with this right now, or I don't want to talk to you about this right now, or you're crossing my boundary right now, even though I'm feeling, how am I crossing your boundary? I'm being totally peaceful. And he's like, you're crossing my boundary. I'm like, okay, I have to accept that. I have to accept that. I have to be patient with his process and understand he's a completely different person than me. He has completely different feelings than me.
And he's perceiving it in a different way.
Yeah, and he's perceiving it in a different way, and it might be triggering something in him that I have, that has nothing to do with me.
Yeah. That's good.
So, warrior energy. That warrior energy, just being like, I'm going to get through this. It's all going to be okay. Doesn't all need to be talked about right now. And if we're meant to be together, it ultimately comes back again and again too. If we're meant to be together, everything's gonna pan out.
You're gonna find ways to work this out.
Yeah.
And one of the ways you shared in the talk, Xavier, maybe this can be like kind of our ending in this conversation, planting seeds of love, I think is a good keyword. Can you share what you shared in the talk and how your approach to what Hanna just said, that understanding, despite her irrationality that might be there sometimes, despite the chaos, despite her, what is your go-to strategy that makes, even creates more love than separation?
Well, it's really important to know that we are different. The body of a woman is linked to the biochemistry, which then affect the mental and the spirit, and same in a man. The hormones that are running in a masculine body are different than the hormones. Her cycle is more linked with the moon, my cycle is more linked with the sun. It's very important to know that we are different, and that I know that I want her to be in her full power, and I want her to be able to relax into the feminine, that she can channel more in the feminine body than me. So for me, I have to use my masculine discipline to let her be as feminine and what the patriarchy called crazy or feminine or incoherent, which by definition is the feminine. The feminine is the complete opposite of being organized and unidirectional. It's everything.
Yeah.
So when she behaves in a way that is Shakti, everything, even if it doesn't make sense in my logic, in my masculine logic, I have to use my masculine strength to protect that, allow her to be. And it comes up, it will be triggering for me, for whatever, safety reason, logical reason or whatever. But if I allow it to be, it's like the storm comes out, something comes up, rise, and then changes. And then as I let it happen, it's like I do the work with no positive result for now. It's like planting the seeds of love. I do the gardening, I will prepare the ground, remove the rocks, bring some compost, prepare the dirt, plant the seed, water it, and then water it again, and then water it again with no result. And then later, because I've done this work, there's a plant that starts growing.
I love that. And you get her chocolate cake at 11 at night or something, whenever it's closed. I love that example.
And the little plant grows, and I keep watering it and watering it. I don't have any result, but later there's a fruit tree that comes, and then there's fruits, or there's a lettuce growing, or there's something that is growing. And suddenly I'm like, wow, that's why I did it.
And it will provide you with so much more fruit.
So much more than I gave anyway, yes. So it's really about knowing. That's why I say it's really important to have guidance and coaching, because in the middle of the storm we might get discouraged. So it's very important for men to have healthy masculine support.
Right.
Because unhealthy masculine feedback or support can cause a big drama.
Yeah.
So I know that I used to have unhealthy friend who didn't know better. They thought they were doing the right thing, but going to the pub, drinking, and then whinging and coercing or gossiping or whatever is not healthy.
Yeah.
We need to have someone who has gone through the work, someone mature that knows what to do. Say, no, hang on, brother. There's, it's like gardening. It's like raising a child. Yes, it's several years of work and discipline. And then years later, you see the child growing into the most magnificent, healthy human being coming. And a relationship is very similar to that for me. Yeah.
Hanna, any last words you'd like to add? Anything you would like Xavier to know maybe in this very moment?
Yes. I just think it's true, everything that you're saying, and you don't have to be perfect as a man. You don't have to, do everything right all the time. There are many times where you make mistakes or, but you never give up. You never give up. You always keep going and keep making an effort, and that's ultimately what creates the safety, because a woman doesn't need a man to be perfect, but just to have the courage to continue showing up. And then when you do that, I just feel so much more generous with my beauty and my love. And like we always say, like he's saying to me, you need to teach all the women how to be such good lover to like the man. And I'm like, well, it's so easy when you have your man really showing up and just being such a powerful leader. So yeah, my heart just opens with that, and I wish that for every couple.
And I can just feel the love between you guys, looking at each other. Such a high vibration here. Thank you so much for this beautiful conversation and for sharing your experience and your wisdom and all of you. Really appreciated that.
You're so welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting us and being such a great listener, receiver, and passionate adventurer into these lands, into these waters, and sharing it with the world. So it's an honor.
Thank you for acknowledging that. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And yeah, I just want to just share that it's exciting. It's like living in the tropics. In the tropics, you have tropical storms, and they are known to be the most violent storms ever. But after the storm in the tropics, what happened? The rain has come, and the earth is wet and full of life.
And the most beautiful, vibrant
the most
sunsets.
beautiful sunset and flowers and delicious fruits. But for that, you need to be able to stay alive during the storm and wait for the end of the storm. And then after the storm comes the most magnificent, delicious tropical paradise. But tropical paradise comes with the tropical storms. So this is just for the men and for the women. Hang on to it, get support where we need the healthy support to be able to survive the storm in a healthy way.
Wenn du mehr über die Arbeit von Hanna und Xavier erfahren möchtest, findest du alle Links in den Shownotes. Wenn dir das Gespräch gefallen hat, teile es mit deinen Freunden, tust du mir einen riesen Gefallen, hilfst dabei, den Podcast nach draußen zu bringen und mehr Menschen zugänglich zu machen. Und besonders gut dafür eignet sich zum Beispiel ein Screenshot mit dem Link zur Folge in einer Instagram-Story. Wenn du 1000 First Steps gerne hörst und meine Arbeit direkt unterstützen möchtest, dann lade ich dich herzlich ein in unsere SOULBASE-Community. Je nach Mitgliedslevel findest du dort auch Goodies für dein persönliches Wachstum, monatliche Live-Meditationen, Aufzeichnungen und mehr. Alle Infos dazu unter soulbase.jakophorvath.com. Schau gut auf dich und die Menschen in deinem Umfeld. Umgib dich mit Natur, genieße dein kostbares Leben. Von mir zu dir mit ganz viel Liebe und Wertschätzung. Dein Jakob.